gavel.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Gottschall. I am your Lower Paxton Township manager. In typical fashion, I'm going to give a brief summary of this evening's agenda while the board members get settled here, particularly for the benefit of those who may be watching at home on television. This evening, the board meets in business session. We do have a rather busy agenda. Beginning first under old business, the board will take action to ratify management's execution on various issues related to various insurance coverages of both the township and the authority. Following that, under new business, the board will take action to approve change order for the Doley Mini Basin BC7 project that related to a sewer and stormwater project. Following that, the board will take action to approve another change order number 1, this being for the annual township paving project. After that, the board will take action to adopt an agreement with the Central Dauphin School District, formally establishing a community garden on the grounds of E.H. Phillips Elementary School. Following that, under subdivision and land development items, the board has a number of items, first to include the adoption of ordinance 2024-06, which amends the township zoning map to provide for a rezoning along Parkway East. And then the board will take action to approve the improvement guarantees, the payment of township and authority bills, and then finally hear any final announcements before finally making a motion to adjourn. With all that said, all the members of the board are seated and prepared to conduct business. Thank you very much.
Before we get started this evening, I would please ask that if your cell phone is on, that you would please silent it, please, for our business meeting. Thank you. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors. Would you please stand for a Pledge of Allegiance? Supervisor Judd will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I have approval of the minutes from the July 16th, 2024 business meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public comment. At this time, we have public comment. If you are here for anything that is on the agenda, I ask that you wait for your public comment to that agenda item. If you are not here, you just want to talk under public comment, you may come forward now. We ask that you give your name and your address. Is there anybody here for public comment? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is George Glendenning. I live at 5728 Cloverdale Road here in the township. I don't believe I'm on this list here, your agenda, so I believe I'm okay. I won't take much of your time. It looks like you're going to be busy tonight. I want to first thank you in a way because on August 27th at the authority meeting I attended and spoke, I believe 4 of you are on that committee, I believe, at least 4 of you. And one of our issues was communication, and I just wanted to tell you we did get a letter from Mr. Weaver dated September 6th. Did all of you get a copy of that letter? Yes, no?
There was one letter we had in our packet at one time. I think that might have been the agenda before you guys were here the last time. But
So,
can
Mr.
I'm going
Go
to have to
ahead.
interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
So that is on the agenda. It's under new business for 9A with Doley with the change order. So
Okay.
at that time, I would ask you if you could speak on that agenda item because it does involve Kenwood, Cloverdale.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else under public comment? Okay. Okay, chairman and board member comments. Board members, do we have any comments? Okay. I have 2. We have a big Fall Fest coming up in George Park on Saturday. It's from 12 to 4. We'll be collaborating with the Colonial Park Rotary the first time. Money from the Rotary Club that they have raised sponsors will be going for scholarships for Rotary. It's a family fun. There'll be hay rides. There'll be pumpkins. It's for adults. face painting, all kinds of stuff. It's for adults too, so please join us. The ribbon cutting will be at 11:45, and that'll be at George Park from 12 to 4. Prior to that, the board will be attending HMC Academy ribbon cutting. That's on Lingelstown Road. It is a new childcare that's opening up, and they have invited us to attend their ribbon cutting. So we'll be definitely busy that day. Any other comments? Good to go? Okay, managers report.
Madam Chair, I have no official report this evening.
Okay, old business. Action to ratify management's execution on final general casualty pollution and other insurance coverages. Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. In relation to the information that's provided in your packet on a public agenda as well, there is a little update to our premium schedule. So I gave you a presentation previously on our lines of coverage for this year. There are two changes to that. One that was noted at the previous meeting, another is a change since then. The first would be the pollution. We did get our policy quote back for that. That policy was for $22.62, so an increase of about $123 for the year. Same provider, same package, same coverages. The other piece was for cyber liability. Working with our new broker, Enders Insurance, we were able to connect with a number of new parties for insurance quotations. And one of those individuals, Beasley, presented a very competitive quote, which enabled us to actually double our coverage levels, yet reduce the actual cost of the premium. So that came down about $1,200 in total. But otherwise, every other piece is the same as we presented and Andy Enders had presented in the previous business meeting that we had. I'll certainly take any questions and then request, in relation to this being effective for today, we had to execute those contracts, so your action is to ratify our execution of those said documents.
Any questions for Mr. Miller? Any questions from the public? Okay, at this time we'll take action. Do I have a motion to ratify management's execution on final general casualty pollution and other insurance coverages?
So moved.
Second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Before we go on to new business, I failed to report that we did have a public meeting workshop. Was open to the public at 5:30. It was on economic development. Next week, our workshop will be at 5:30, and that will be for the police and the fire. We also met in executive session after that, and we will not be meeting in executive session after the meeting. New business, action to approve change order number 1 from Dolly for the mini basin BC, CA, CB, CC, CD, 8C, and 8D sewer system improvement project. Mr. Gutschall.
Yes, Madam Chair. Which item are we on again? I'm just kidding. That if you could repeat
okay.
all that, please.
I was wait a minute. Did I miss something? Okay.
Before the board this evening is change order number 1 with Dolly Construction Corporation. As discussed in the board's most previous meeting, Dolly had been working with the township and our engineers to put forward this change order, which encompasses an extension to the contract term, the period term, an addition of 61 days from August 1st to October 1st, 2024. The other terms of the contract remain similar, as noting the price. Just to give an update as to the project in the field, as of today, the project continues to progress rather, I'll say, nicely since our last public meeting with regard to a number of the items that had been outstanding at that point. Just running down a number of the updates as I had received them as of 3 p.m. this afternoon. Dolly's concrete subcontractor has been working each day to install sidewalks, ADA curbs, and other concrete-related aspects of the project. As of today, 20 of the 36 ADA ramps were completed, and a few beyond that partially installed as well. They are now currently moved to Kenwood Avenue, where they are doing the curbs and sidewalks there. At this point, Dolly has 2 four-man crews each week to work on that concrete work, as well as some punch list items related to concrete and sidewalk. Dolly also continues to progress nicely on the storm sewer pipe installation and other storm-related structures related to inlets and other things in that regard. The storm sewer project is now continuing on to Cloverdale Road near the intersection of Timber Lane. That is complete, and so now they are in that section as well. The township storm sewer crew is now 90% complete on our work related to storm sewer installation on Kenwood Avenue. As it relates to our own crews as well as Dolly crews, we are still at this point waiting on a number of the utilities to relocate their infrastructure, both UGI and PPL. However, both of our crews, Dolly and Township crews, continue to work on our components independent of that utility relocation work. We're just trying to get the stuff done on our own schedule, and then those utilities will be in to relocate as they are able to. And also, lawn restoration work continues to progress. However, noting that a number of properties do still need a second time kind of pass through on that restoration work, but certainly the weather as it relates to lawn restoration has been rather cooperative. The water, certainly helps that component of the project. So at this point, I think we're in pretty good shape with regards to the contract progress. We feel confident that the terms of the extension, the contract extension, will be met timely. And, at this point, I think it's in order for the board to take action on this change order, which does extend the contract by 61 days and allows the contractor to continue plugging away.
Okay. I just want to make one thing clear, that the top coat will not be put on till spring of 2025, right?
Correct.
Okay. Any comments or questions for Mr. Gutschall?
I have a question.
Okay.
When did Dolly sign the extension contract? The last time we were here, we were waiting, they hadn't signed it yet.
Looks like they signed it on September 16th. September 16th, yep.
Okay.
And actually, Mrs. Lindsay, that what you had noted is mostly and partially, maybe mostly correct. The top coat, you're correct,
Mm-hmm.
is anticipated not to be installed. However, if they can do so before that point, they will certainly do it. So
Depending if the asphalt
Correct.
plan is open.
Right.
Okay, good. Any other questions from the board, comments?
Just a comment, for those that just came in, there's 3 chairs up in the front. You may not be able to hold hands, but there are places up here for you to sit down instead of standing in the back. You bet.
All right. Mr. Glenberg?
Thank you, Mrs. Lindsay. Do I need my name again, or you're okay?
Kelly, you have it? Okay, we're
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is what I was coming to talk about. I do appreciate the communication that Mr. Weaver sent to, I believe, everybody in our 7 streets there that is affected. But I don't think you guys evidently received a copy. And I wanted to bring something to your attention in this, where it talks about seeding and yard restoration and concrete sidewalks and this and that. And in this it says, Kenwood Avenue, parentheses, concrete work is formed, ready to pour. That is not true. That is not true. Today, I went down Kenwood to see for myself, to make sure before I came to the meeting. There are still areas that aren't formed, and if they're not formed, they are not concreted. It's curbing and sidewalks on Kenwood Avenue. Now, I don't know what he means by this, because even when we received this, almost the entire street was not formed or concrete in the curbs and sidewalks. Now, they are proceeding. Last week they did some. So it is proceeding, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So I don't know where they got the information, but it's not correct. And I
Okay.
just wanted to bring that to your attention.
All right, so they are working on it?
They are.
Okay.
But they still need to form some of the sidewalks. And you know, I said it before to the committee when I was here. Children are walking to school, you know, getting on buses at these intersections too that aren't done. And it's just like, I'm surprised parents aren't here coming and I don't know, maybe they are, but maybe, I don't know, but I'm surprised they aren't.
So they're
But anyway-
starting, last time I was there, they're starting at one end and they're moving towards Beaver
Correct.
Road.
They
Okay.
did the one side, the north side of the street, they did for the most part, not all of it, but they're working on that first. But the south side really needs, I mean, I think it's the whole thing. And you're talking, what, 30 houses? I don't know, maybe more. This isn't like 2 or 3 houses. This is that whole 5,700 block of Kenwood. And now they're starting on Cloverdale where I live. I can't wait till they dig up the front. I just want it over with. You know, that's what I want. But I just want to bring something. You know, I believe this contract's $18 million. And I just think, you know, at the August 27th meeting, one of the men here in the audience with the public comments made the comment about how many people have been in our neighborhood. And not even half of the people raised their hands. And I just want to really, I said it before and I want to say it again, go to these places and view these things. Look at them. And just don't do it once. This is a 3-year project that was supposed to end today. It's not done, as you well know. So just don't go like on a 3-year contract, go one time and say, oh, okay, it's over. Go back quarterly. Go back and look and see what's going on, everybody, please, because then you see what's going on and you understand it better. I mean, if it was your neighborhood, you wouldn't enjoy this at all. The streets are bumpy. I'm not negative, but is it Brad, I believe? You said it's hopefully get that second. I don't even think we're gonna get the base coat in. I hope we do. It'd be great to have it all done, but I just wonder. Anyways, I want to keep going because I know you got a lot here tonight, you know, but please visit these projects. Take a look at them, please. So I'm going to give you a proposal tonight that some of you are going to laugh about later. Maybe you'll laugh now. I really don't care. Here's my proposal. Meadowbrook, Oak, Palmer, Kenwood, Cloverdale, Timber, and Raybuck, okay? We've had stress. We've had frustration. We've had inconvenience. People have put money out. I had one neighbor tell me last week she's replaced 3 tires because they can't patch them, okay? That's just one neighbor that told me. Other neighbors have told me. I know the man across the street from me replaced, what, 1 tire. But so what I'm trying to say to you is, and plus, when this is all said, and then watering lawns, these neighbors had to water lawns before when we had all this no rain. We didn't have that problem this week or last, so. But, and also, I'm going to take my car in for front end alignments when this is all said and done, because I have no idea what I'm facing, and I like to keep my tires as long as I can. So here's what I'm asking, which you're going to smile at. I'm asking that everybody that lives in that neighborhood, that owns a home and lives there, that you waive their stormwater and sewage costs, their charges, for the next year. Think about that. You guys can do it, I believe. I was told you can do it. I might be wrong, but I was told you can do it. I don't want to talk anymore. I appreciate you letting me come and speak. I know you got a lot tonight. I see the crowd here, so thank you so much. And Mrs. Lindsay, I thank you so much for coming to our neighborhood more than once. And I really appreciate that. And I've told many neighbors about you coming because they need to know this. So thank you again, everybody. Thank you.
Well, as I say, sitting up here with the 5 of us, you have to visit before you vote. So you know what you're voting on. So, okay, is there anybody else for public comment? We're good? Okay, board members, we're good? Okay. Do I have approval for change order number 1 from Dolly for the mini basin? BC 7A, 7B, 7C, 7D, 8C, and 8D, Sewer System Improvement Project. We need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. And I think that the township and Dolly has learned their lesson. We need communication through all of this the next time around. So, thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda, action to approve change order number 1 from New Enterprise Stone and Lime Company, Inc. for the 2024 Lower Paxton Township paving project. Mr. Gutschall.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board. Change order number 1 with New Enterprise Stone and Lime Company Incorporated corresponds to the annual township paving project, this being the 2024 paving project. This change order before the board this evening, which has been reviewed and recommended by township engineer and staff, unfortunately does not relate to a term extension, but rather a monetary increase, this being in the amount of $22,770.53. The bulk of that change order relates to a intersection realignment project that would remove a bottleneck at the intersection of T Road with Ranger and Catherine. There was kind of some I'll say funky geometry with that intersection as it exists today. So this project's going to allow us to kind of realign that intersection a bit to reduce a bottleneck there and improve the alignment and reduce some sight distance issues. That in itself was in the amount of $13,000. The remaining portion, $9,000 or so, relates to sewer manhole adjustments, which will be paid out of our sewer fund. So all that said, this change order increases the contract by $22,770.53, and I'd be happy to help answer any questions the board may have on this project and this action item before you.
Yeah, I did see they're going to be widening it, so I think the residents will appreciate that, in that area. Questions, comments from the board? Anybody from the public here? Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to approve change order number 1 from New Enterprise Stone and Lime Company, Inc. for the 2024 Lower Paxton Township paving project?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Action to adopt an agreement with the Central Dauphin School District establishing a community garden on the grounds of E.H. Phillips Elementary School. Mr. Gutschall.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, and I do see with us this evening in the audience, we certainly have a representative from the Central Dauphin School District, as well as I believe I saw her somewhere.
Yeah, she's here.
Representatives from the dedicated volunteers who had been working with the township on this project, and I'll just give a quick briefing before maybe I turn it over to those folks if they have comments, or the board certainly. But for a number of months now, the township has been working with volunteers and the Central Dauphin School District on a joint venture with regard to the establishment of a community garden. This is something that has been brought to our attention by residents, and the board took a rather proactive step to reach out and get some more information on that. I know the Madam Chair and I had been touring around with district representatives to various community gardens around the county, and we think we have a great location here in Central Dauphin's E.H. Phillips Elementary School. And so before the board this evening is a formal an MOU with the school district to kick this thing off and allow this joint venture to be put into place. And I think we're at a good place now. So it has been reviewed by township solicitor and staff, and stands prepared for board action this evening.
This is very exciting. In January, we had 2 residents come to us and propose about doing a community garden, and we're like, where do we put it? We just put over $5 million in our parks. We didn't want to dig them up. So a resident just happened to be watching the meeting and contacted one of the school board members and said, hey, I think that we can do this. So we've been working on this since January, and we thank the school district for collaborating with us. There's probably going to be 50 to 54 lots that will be available. It is on the E.H. Phillips school district land there on right off of Locust Lane. So this is exciting for us. And I know Evie is here. Andrew's not. Evie, would you like to get up and tell a little bit about it before we take the... Yeah, if you can just come to the podium, we'll need your name and your address. Yeah, you can.
I wanted to say some things.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll just
So-
have to you'll just have to put them by the microphone there. Yeah,
mic?
thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
So if
gonna
we could
give
just
him-
have your name and address.
I'm Evelyn Lopatic. My address is 511 Kingston Road, Harrisburg, PA 17112.
Resident of Lower Paxton Township.
Resident of Lower Paxton Township.
No,
Yep.
you're good.
All right. So I'm gonna get Andrew on the line here. He wants to be included, but he couldn't make it tonight.
Okay.
Is there any way that you could call him from a phone up there, or?
I think that'll be easier.
Okay.
Easier for
Hey.
everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm at the microphone right now. Could you state who you are and where you live?
My name is Andrew Siliker. I live at 2182 Gale Drive, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so they want us to give a little description of what we've been doing with the community garden, about the whole project. If you
Okay.
want to say a few words.
I'm going to take it off the top. Can everybody hear me okay?
We can. Yes, we can.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so just from the beginning here, I'll just give you a quick rundown. So back in January, Evelyn and I created a Facebook post basically inquiring on the Lower Paxton Township Facebook page, the informal one, if anybody would be interested in having a community garden. Overnight, there were hundreds of people. So we set up another page to try to get the ball rolling. We got in contact with the township. We've been collaborating with the township on how to design it, how to build it. I have experience managing community gardens in the past. Long story short, I guess we're looking to develop the site at the E.H. Phillips Elementary School. We've got a couple different garden plan ideas that we can work off of if that's helpful. In order to help secure funding for it, because I know it's it's a little bit expensive and it's not really on the budget yet. Evelyn and I put together a grant. We had the township be a co-applicant on the grant, but we're trying to get the gaming grant from Dauphin County. Today we submitted that gaming grant. I think we requested $36,800. It should cover a fence, a shed, a workshop area, some tools, and I think sort of this covered area to do the workshops. We're hoping to have educational programs for people in the community. A lot of people don't know how to garden. A lot of people have never gardened before, so we're hoping to be able to get that up and rolling. Over the winter, we can show people how to get plants ready. We've sort of created a citizens group called Cultivating Roots Advocacy, where that's kind of the label for this project to help work on the gardens. We're trying our best to unburden the township from the difficult parts, I guess, and coordinate volunteers so there's not as much of a burden on them day to day, and whatever we can do to help.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Yep. Great, Andrew. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
If you have any other questions, I'm here and happy to answer.
Any other questions?
I think we're all pretty good. It's been very explanatory. It's been a long haul, so we're hoping by March
Yeah.
15th, the first seed will go in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay,
Awesome.
great. And
Thank
thank you for coming, Evie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is Eric here?
Yeah, he's over there.
Oh, how did I miss you? Name and your address, please, sir. And your title.
Eric Epstein, Lower Paxton Township, 4100 Hillsdale Road. I am part of the executive committee for the school district and the chairman of finance. I'd also want to point out that you didn't have a tax increase this year, so hopefully you'll remember that next year in the event that doesn't occur. It can be a little dicey. So E.H. Phillips is an interesting location, and would comment on a couple of things. We can't have parking at the school, so it'll be at Pennswood. And then E.H. Phillips will undergo next summer. Those of you who follow the district may recognize that we have 5 schools without air conditioning. E.H. Phillips is going to get air conditioning next year, as is, I think, Mountain View. So I did travel with Mr. Gutschall, Mrs. Lindsay. I think we hit 4 gardens, which was 4 more than I really wanted to see. We went to Elmerton, Steelton, Millersburg, and then over to Mechanicsburg. So we're excited about the venture. We're going to put it on our agenda next week. I have an agenda
Perfect.
Meeting tomorrow. As an aside, is that Sam Miller?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I thank you for the briefing the other day. I don't know if you got my message.
I did. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, yeah. I mean, as an aside, and the township probably knows, the district has a reverse tax policy that we're implementing to try and recover revenue from underpaying corporate entities. So I didn't realize, had the experience, I think, Central York or York previous to this. West Hanover, Lower Paxton, Swadera are all on board for that. I guess the only other thing I would point out is that I am so grateful that we're not going to have to do the gardening aspect, because my only gardening experience is at the Weiss Market in the produce section. And I think your volunteers have been super. So we're looking forward to it, and I think we can get it going by next spring. It seems like we're there, and our building and grounds folks are available if you need any assistance.
Great, and thank you again for collaborating with us. We really appreciate it. It's exciting for the community, so.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt an agreement with the Central Dauphin School District establishing a community garden on the grounds of the E.H. Phillips Elementary School? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, perfect. Okay. Subdivision and land development, action to adopt ordinance 2024-06, amending the township zoning map to accept the rezoning of land along Parkway East from agricultural residential to open space development overlay. I will be turning this over to Teresa Davis, Esquire. Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now is the time and place for the hearing regarding the action to adopt ordinance 2406, amending the township zoning map to accept the rezoning of land along Parkway East from agricultural residential to open space development overlay. The public notice advertising the proposed ordinance was posted in the legal ad column of the Sun on September 5th and September 12th of 2024. The property of the public notice was posted on August 29th, 2024. The ordinance was advertised appropriately, and I would like to make that part of the record, and I request the court reporter to do so. This was also reviewed by the Township Planning Commission and the Dauphin County Planning Commission. I will now ask Nick Garrett, please excuse the pronunciation, the planning officer, to provide a brief introduction regarding the ordinance.
Thank you. Ordinance 2406 amends Chapter 203 of the zoning ordinance, Section 303A, to modify the Lower Paxton Township zoning map to rezone land from the AR Agricultural Residential District to the Open Space Development Overlay District. Ordinance 2406 amends the zoning map to rezone the Agricultural Residential to the Open Space Development Overlay District for the parcel known as Dauphin County Tax Parcel Number 35003-014, which has a total area of 180.27 acres. The application for amendment to the zoning ordinance was sent to Lower Paxton and Dauphin County Planning Commissions for review on July 2nd, 2024. The Dauphin County Planning Commission recommended approval of the map amendment at the August 5th, 2024 meeting. The proposed zoning map amendment was not recommended for approval by the Lower Paxton Township Planning Commission at the September 4th, 2024 meeting. And with that, board members, I'd be happy to answer any specific questions you have regarding the proposed map amendment and this property.
Nick, since we haven't been privy to the minutes of that meeting, what was their main reason for denying it?
The reasoning behind the Planning Commission denying the plan is that they had a belief that many homes could not be constructed in that, on that property, simply based off of issues related to perks and probes for septic, things of that nature. Now, I may just give you some background on a zoning map amendment. The zoning map amendment that becomes before you tonight, same as went before the planning commission, is based merely on density. Do you agree with the density, or do you not agree with the density? The applicant has met their burden, and township, myself, the zoning officer, and HRG reviewed the plan, and they, the parcels they show on that plan for their yield plan is, we believe, is the amount that's acceptable under the zoning district. Whether or not they could all be truly be developable building lots is not something that we are able to dive into at this stage. That would happen at land development if it were to get that far. But with the testimony by the public and from the planning commission's knowledge of that area, they had reason to believe that this may not be possible.
Nick, I have a question. In all the papers that we received here in our packet, it doesn't tell you who the developer is. Are you allowed to tell us who the developer is?
Yeah, Sean Delaney from Stevens and Lee, Land Use Council for the owner of the property. It's the Ann Bonnet's estate is the owner of the property. That's who our client is. We are not at the development phase yet. We're just going through this exercise with the township's overlay district provisions as a precursor to going through the land development process.
Okay. I have another question. The map that was in our packet, it looks like the road is going over top of the pond. See the purple there and see the pond?
I believe that's the township line. The road goes to the north and east of the pond, north being plan left right now as you're looking at it.
So part of the pond is in West Hanover and the other part's in Lower Paxton.
Correct.
Okay, so when I was back there, there's a road that says no trespassing. Is that a private road, or is that a township road in West Hanover?
That is a private road at that point, at that intersection, that serves as the driveway for the Bonnet's homestead. The plan has been designed so that that private drive is not used as access to the proposed development.
Okay. I just have a lot of questions here I wanted to ask. So it looks like, I know it's, it's not a land development, but I just had a question. Looks like there's conservation district back there. Will there be building on the conservation district?
No,
Okay.
that's in the West Hanover Township side. Yeah, basically there's a small piece that is in their residential conservation district. So, but we are not proposing any development there.
Okay. Have you notified West Hanover Township on this plan?
We have talked to them about the road access issue, yes, but we haven't told them that we're filing a land development plan because that's premature.
Okay. So they didn't need to be notified that you were coming before us this evening?
No.
Okay. I also noticed the entryway when I was back there at Parkway East is right across from 6210, and that's also at a very, very bad curve back there also. So I think that's going to be a site issue, with that many, I know we're not at the land development, but I'm just saying, with that many houses that are going to be built back there.
Agreed. Yeah, understood.
Okay. Okay, and then the property portion lies within a 100-year floodplain?
Yes,
So there is a lot of wetlands back there also?
the lower ground, yes, and that is all shown on the yield plan.
Right, okay. All right.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, so Nick, so the planning commission voted not to recommend, and like I said, we don't have the minutes. Staff says you don't necessarily agree with their analysis.
No, but Supervisor Judd, staff's responsibility in this process is to ensure that the process is done correctly. We just ensure that the process is done throughout Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors. whether it's a recommendation for approval or condition of approval. I may give no recommendation on whether or not I agree with the plan in itself. I merely agree that the density that is shown on the plan with the amount of parcels is accurate.
You're saying that it meets the criteria for that rezoning? is what you're saying.
It meets the criteria for the rezoning for an open space.
Yeah, like you're just saying they were able to fit the appropriate amount of houses in that space. It's not a house extra or whatever, right?
That's correct,
Okay.
because at this stage, you have to
Yeah.
show the streets, you have to show the lots accurately,
Gotcha.
size and wetlands, but it doesn't have to be to the engineering detail that's required under land development.
Sure. So they could, I mean, put in less lots than what's on here, but they're going for as dense as they can get it.
So the difficulty is that, yes, they could put less lots in, but once you approve an open space development, which is what Dauphin County always puts in their memo, is that anything can be approved once it's approved. You wouldn't be able to restrict the amount of units once an open space
Gotcha.
development is approved.
Gotcha.
So the open space development allows how many houses?
Currently, it allows for 78 lots within this development, on the property, to in West Hanover. With the yield plan, they're showing 63 lots.
Just to make that clear, so we have, what you're shown here is the by right development under the current zoning in the AR district, which is 1 unit per every acre and a half. And so obviously you have to net out wetlands, roads, and things like that. But so this is the layout that our engineer prepared, showing what you could do today with no rezoning. And at this, the yield is 74 units. So in theory, you could.
You said 74, he
Sorry.
said 78.
78 units.
Okay.
In theory, 1.5 acre lots, you could put about 107 on here, but in reality, you can't. Now, under the open space overlay district guidelines, because this property isn't served by public water or public sewer, you're allowed a minimum lot size of 1 acre. But you have to set aside a minimum of 40% of the parcel as open space. And at least one of those parcels, the open space parcels, has to be large enough to constitute at least 50% of the required open space. So when we went through basically the massing analysis under the overlay, there are some lots that are less than 1.5 acres, but there's some that are 3 acres based on the realities of the property. And so under the sort of counterintuitively, under the overlay guidelines, we end up with 63 units. So we actually are less units in the open space overlay district as opposed to what we could do by right. This allows us to preserve the mountainside and concentrate the development in the lower ground. Now, this is consistent with the goals of the open space overlay district. It's to promote flexibility in development, protect environmentally sensitive areas, which again, the whole northern third of the property is the hillside, to avoid severe erosion and increased flow rates that could occur from building on steeper slopes. It's to provide recreation areas, so you've got the open space, 40% minimum. That is providing a recreation area for the residents. It's to steer development to suitable areas. If you look at the comprehensive plan, the AR district is one area where the plan says utilization of the open space overlay district is appropriate as a way to guide the proper development in the township. Trying to avoid construction on steep slopes, that's a goal. Conserve forested areas and wildlife habitat, and to allow the reasonable use of land. So again, it is kind of counterintuitive, but by granting the request to include this parcel in the overlay district, you're actually reducing the number of units that could be built. Now, the
From
prime reason.
78 to 63?
Correct. So the main reason, the only reason really that the zoning officer alluded to, the planning commission recommending a denial, was based on the fact that they thought that it'd be impossible for a 1 acre lot to adequately perk and probe, that the results of the development wouldn't be feasible. The reality is the size of lot, while it may be a 1 acre minimum, that will be driven by the results of the perk and probe studies. So if there's a lot on our overlay district design that says it's 1.18 acres, and the soil doesn't support an on-lot system at that size, that lot's gonna have to get bigger. But that's part of the land development process. All that's gonna do is reduce the number of units that we can have. But again, it's premature to go through perks and probes for an entire site when we don't even know what the zoning is, and that's why we're here.
Any further questions or comments from the board?
So, Mr. Garrett, the Planning Commission, they understood that there would be a reduction from 78 units down to 63, and they still denied it?
That is correct.
So there's still some concern other than the number of units?
If there's no more questions from the board, I can move on to public comment. If you could please raise your hand if you're interested in commenting publicly. I'll start in the back on the left, the man with the glasses.
Thank you. My name is Jake Salzer. I live at 937 Pheasant.
Can
I have
you
a-
speak into the mic, please?
That's
Yeah.
what I was trying to do. 937 Pheasant, Jake Salzer.
Just an announcement to the crowd. I'm going to try and get all of your names correct for the record, so if I raise my hand, please.
Yes, Sulzer. Yes, thank you. I have a USB with some photographs I'd like to show. Could I plug it in here? And thank you. How do you show it? Slideshow? I'd like to thank the supervisors for taking public comment tonight. This is really important to us. And we really appreciate you listening in. The first thing I'd like to do, if you would be all right with it, is provide you with a copy of a petition us neighbors have put together. I have that copy here. Do you want me to wait to the end, or would you like to read it now?
I would say just start
Yeah.
speaking. I would say go ahead with your
Yeah,
presentation.
Okay, all right,
we
no
can
problem.
wait, yeah.
The petition's been signed by 112 of us. We limited it to people who live on these streets. If you look at it, there's probably 37 to 40 houses on Parkway East, another 20 some on Compton and Pheasant. So if you put together the math, pretty much everyone here is opposed to this. We didn't go out on 22 or send it out on Facebook and say, anyone please sign. The reason we're opposed to it, when you read our petition, is it bakes down to this. This Bonnet's property is beautiful. It is a real, sorry, I'm trying to get to the keyboard. It's a real gem in this area. It's full of natural resources, 180 acres. It's the most beautiful property around here. It really is. And while we prefer no development, we're not unrealistic. We're not going to stand up here and shout at you and say, stop this now. We understand that an owner has a right to do within the ordinance limits to develop it, provided it doesn't damage us. And this proposed yield plan would be detrimental with flooding, wetland damage, unsafe traffic. And yes, generally open space is probably a newer, better way of doing things. But on this particular property, given its uniqueness at the headwaters of the Beaver Creek and giving this yield plan, it's not a good idea. I've sat and listened to the developer and discuss and sell this idea of 74 houses or 78 houses, or if you give us this, we'll give you 63. I represent to you that's not an accurate analogy. And that's why the Planning Commission said no. I watched Mr. Leidy and the other members who denied it sit up there and say they don't believe 78 is accurate. The attorney just said, well, when you don't perk and probe, you go to bigger lots. Yes, those commissioner members were saying, ultimately, if we keep this agricultural residential, what will have to happen, it'll be bigger lots, so less amount of houses, less amount of impact in this very sensitive area. That's why they denied it. So I have that petition for you then when you're able to, but I'll go through our sort of thoughts now. Again, those are the key points that I just went through. Property is a treasure, but this isn't the way to do it. I wanted to give you a picture of this property because I think a picture is very telling. If you look around this is not a development spot. This is a beautiful countryside. Everyone here who lives there, we love it because we're not really like the white picket fence and sidewalk people. We like space people. And you see it. It's 180 acres. It's huge. It's surrounded by farmland on the east. I've positioned the property so the north is the top of the slide, the south is the bottom, right? So you have a huge farm to the right. You have nothing but open land to the north on the mountain. And on the side, you see large lots with big houses. You don't see a cluster of 60 houses. When you look at their presentation and they say we're honoring what you guys want with open space, the ordinance says they have to set aside land clearly suitable for active or passive recreation. I've put in a copy of your picture from the comprehensive plan of what green open space looks like, right? Nice field, kids can play soccer, you can set down a picnic blanket. Narrow and unusable lands don't count, right? The greens should be centered so you have the houses all focusing on it, right? This is the proposal. If you zoom in on it, sections B, C, and D, all they're open space. It's corridors around the wetland. Kids aren't going to play there. Dogs aren't going to be walked there. It's really hard for me not to question, hey guys, did you just take the unusable stuff and say, hey, we're going to cram houses in everywhere else? If you look and zoom out from the Parkway, which is on the bottom, over to Compton, which is on the top, you have house, street, house, street, house, house, street, house, street, house. There's no centrally located green area. The big lot is Lot A. That is the side of Blue Mountain. It's 790 feet in elevation at the top, down to about 5 something where the houses start. So I'm not an engineer. I can't tell you the slope grade. But I can tell you that I've hunted over there on the Russell property on the farm. You better be in really good shape. The only recreation you're getting is really in shape hikers. You're not walking your dog up there. It's completely wooded and it's rocky. So I think it's fair for you to question this developer. Hey, we like open space. Are you meeting that? Because this doesn't look like usable green space to us or open space to us. I raised this to show you that we're not these crazy neighbors who are just saying, oh, not my backyard, not my backyard. Tri-County Regional Planning Commission puts out a study. They've been studying it for decades on density in the area. This property falls within the rural reserve area, which would have 1 house to every 6 acres. Their current showing 1 house every 2.5. So I think you need to start looking as you look in this and say, guys, are you going to rip out some of these houses and put in green space and drop 60 to 20 or 30? Or are you just trying to get the most so you can run out and get the most money out of this property? We have flooding concerns, and it's the same concerns that Lower Paxton has in its comprehensive plan. This is Beaver Creek. It's a major finding by Lower Paxton saying this is the largest area of flood-prone lands. If you look at the Dauphin County watershed map and you zoom in, now I've rudimentarily drew this property. I outlined it in black. So the north is at the top of the slide, the south, so that's the property outlined. What you're over top of is the headwater of Beaver Creek. The highest elevation in Lower Paxton of Beaver Creek, the biggest flooding problem that we have, everything's downwind from this. Everything's downhill from this. So if you mess up here, it's a catastrophic problem. That's why we're concerned. Again, going to an aerial view of the map, north, again, is at the top of the slide, south is at the bottom. Property under their own map is steep. It goes from 790 feet in elevation to 433 at the southeast corner. That low point that I've marked there with a blue arrow, right? It's the lowest spot. That's the lowest spot when it rains. And I promise you, I'm not cherry picking pictures. You can ask the Russells who live back there how many times we have to run into a problem where you can't get home. That culvert that's under several feet of water in that picture was redone by Lower Paxton in 2015. And I'm not throwing shots at you guys. I'm appreciative that you tried to fix it. But sometimes Mother Nature is just a bear, and you're not going to out-engineer it. Look to the right of here. That's where houses are going to go. On the right side of that high water sign are lots. And kicking the can down the road and saying, oh, well, just give me the density and I'll fix it later. I don't think that's the right way to go. I think you consider all this when you sent density. Again, just to prove I wasn't lying, on your website, culvert replacement in 2015. It was a huge project. My recollection was at least 100 feet of the road was dug up, closed for days, culvert put in. The environmental impact, this is what really concerns me. We all love nature out there. I think we all love it, and that's why we live out there. This is the hydraulic soil map from Dauphin County. You can see through the bottom south part of this property, that's open space B, C, and D, right along the wetlands. It's interconnected. I've marked on there, because I've lived there my whole life, where ponds are around the whole area. So you have the Bonnets Pond is a red dot. To the south, you have the Baker Pond, the Russells, the Wests, the other Russells, the Sminks, myself, Evanoff, and I actually forgot one because Crum has it. Trust me when I say they're all interconnected. When they log on this mountain, they're all ruined. Someone puts in algae control in one pond, goes to pond to pond to pond, out Beaver Creek. They are interconnected. And these are gems. This is an aerial map of them. They're all in a close spot. You don't have this anymore. And when I'm out and about in Lower Paxton and someone hears where I live, they go, oh, I learned to fish there when I was growing up. During COVID, my wife and I had an open invitation. If your kids are penned in, bring them out and learn to fish. These are beautiful spots, and I am just so afraid of messing these up, because once that cat's out of the bag, it's done. Again, I think a lot of my neighbors will speak on this about traffic safety. These are backcountry roads. This isn't a development you're putting in on Linglestown Road. This is a development at the end of two long, winding, narrow roads, frequent crashes. Parkway East has 37 homes on it. Compton and Fox Hill have 20. So if you give them 60, you've just doubled, right? This is a picture of Parkway East. I've marked it in green up the side of the mountain. Yeah, I've marked all the homes. The orange is where this proposed development would come in at the 90-degree turn, right? That Chair Lindsay pointed out. This is pictures of that turn as you travel north to it. You come up to a blind hill. As you approach it, there's a sharp turn to the left. Just to the right is your entrance where 60 homes are coming out. In reverse, traveling south, coming down a hill, sharp turn to the right, over there to the left would be the entrance. That's where 60 homes coming out every morning on a road that already has a lot of problems, and I'll let my neighbors speak to that. We're just inviting a real bad problem, and I think that needs to be taken into consideration when you send density. Chair Lindsay, you would discuss the back road. My entire life, it's been a driveway. Originally, they were going to widen that in their proposal. Now their proposal is they will build a whole new road just to the left of this driveway. Double wide road for them to come through. That road is zone conservation in West Hanover. I tried to put a sidewalk in my house in zone conservation. You wouldn't believe what I had to go to. But apparently you can build a 2-lane road through it now, and it's no problem. Right over top Beaver Creek, right next to the pond. And when I explain this to my counterparts in the Parkway, when we're talking about, hey, we're setting density here, I say to them, guys, I don't know if that can happen. If it doesn't, all this is going out one way. So you won't even have two ways if you don't get approval through there. And trust me, everyone in West Hanover, we don't want that. I really thank you. I appreciate you not cutting me off and let me ramble on. I said it before. I hope we're doing it right. I hope ultimately that open space isn't the way to go, right? And I'm right. And it's going to lead to less houses because my son has to live there too. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Stalter. Your comments are noted. I believe there was a gentleman sitting close to Mr. Salzer who raised his hand as well.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Semancic.
Thanks.
Semancik. I live at 6606 Parkway East. Also lucky enough to own property on the West Hanover side off of Pheasant. So my property over there is 2 properties away from this. And I think first and foremost, the kind of how this all transpired was initially when we had the first meeting with the board or with the planning commission, that ended on basically the task that they need to reach out to West Hanover and figure out if they can have this access on the West Hanover side. We went to the West Hanover meeting and spoke with them. They had not heard about it at all. So as of the last meeting they had, they were not aware of this. We brought it to their attention. So that is a major issue because, like Jake said, there's only 30 some houses on Parkway. So if we're adding 60 plus houses and they all need to eventually come out on the Parkway because West Hanover won't grant permission, that's a huge problem. And I think that with West Hanover, the whole West Hanover side is conservation. And with that being our neighbors, if we had land that was conservation, we would not want them to put a high density development right next to ours. So I think that we should be considerate of the fact that we're doing that to them. So it's zoned as conservation for a reason. Manada Conservancy is to the north of this. That whole mountaintop ridge is all conservation, and it's that way for a reason. There's endangered species that live up there. The Allegheny wood rat, very important, the Allegheny wood rat. And just the traffic. I mean, that's pretty much probably our major concerns. And like Jake said, our kids live here and will grow up here, and it's a huge concern. Traffic is a problem. Sight lines are an issue. Wildlife, yeah, look out for the wood rat. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. If you could please raise your hands once again if you're looking to comment. Ma'am.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Linda Lucas, Lucas. I live at 6707 Parkway East. So I'm down from where this road would come out at. I'm close to where Compton comes across to Parkway East. I wanted to first address your question, Madam Chair, about why in my opinion, and why the Planning Commission denied this. I believe that the Planning Commission saw the ruse that is actually happening here. If they really thought that they could build and use the if we stay with the agricultural zoning, and we know there's going to at some point be a development here. What we're trying to do is to make it reasonable for the properties in the area, and as has already been presented, larger lots. They also made the decision because of 1.5 acre versus 1 acre for septic systems. Once that zoning is changed, they don't necessarily have to keep the plan that they have. That hasn't been presented or approved. Once you change the zoning, we're on a slippery slope here. If they really could build more houses, zoning as agricultural, why do you think they want to change it? They want to change it because they want to do more. I wanted to question In other conversations, I thought we were working with Triple Crown Corporation. Maybe we're not any longer, but that was who was mentioned in the beginning. So I just wanted to bring that up. And living on Parkway East, I'm right before the first bend, and the speed of traffic, I mean, people run the stop sign at the bottom. My husband's mowing, doing weed whacking along the side. I mean, cars just zoom by him, and we have a speed limit of 25 miles an hour. I ask you to consider that, as also was presented. What if West Hanover Township doesn't let them come out on that side? We're going to have, 60 homes, roughly, we'll say, times 2 cars. You've got 120 more cars on our road and at that sharp turn. It's not safe, it's not practical. And I ask you really, truly to consider, why would you, if you really could do what you say you could do with agricultural, why do you want to change the zoning? Let's leave it the way it is and hope for the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lucas. Yes, sir.
My name is Doug Beck. I live at 6210 Parkway East. If West Hanover denies that road, there will be 120 cars a day, service vehicles, delivery trucks coming out at my driveway all times of the day and night. Planning Commission denied this, not only for all of the things that Jake said, but the safety of the individuals that use that road. We have hikers, we have bikers, we have people that walk their dogs, we have sports car enthusiasts that fly up and down the road. But I think what aggravates me the most about being here tonight is the fact that these guys spit in the face of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission said no for all the reasons we're here, and it insults all the people that are in this room. And that just shows the audacity and arrogance of the people we're dealing with. And that insults me as well as all of these people. And I really hope that you guys will consider the Planning Commission. They're your subcommittee. They're the guys that give you the reason for yes or no's on all these projects. If they said no, they had a reason to say no. And I hope you appreciate that and you'll consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, Jess Seacrest. I live at 6908 Fox Hill Road. So with the water issues and concerns, my husband was a wildlife biologist for Fort Indian Town Gap, and he has a lot of information, a lot of expertise in these areas, and he was not able to make it tonight because he's with our son, so I am here on his behalf to try to explain the situation. Are any of you familiar with atrazine? Pre-emergent herbicide? Do any of you treat your lawn?
I know you don't eat it.
Yeah. Yes.
So atrazine is a pre-emergent used by companies, chemical companies, lawn care companies like True Green. It's one of a plethora of chemicals that go into their sprays. Winslet development, most of the houses in Winslet development, I know you guys are familiar with that. Most of the houses in there use True Green. We have the property at 6908 Fox Hill Road. We also have a property at the bottom of Winslet development, and we have a well. Our well water is unpotable because of all the chemicals that are used on the lawns in Winslet development, like atrazine. We have to get a whole house filtration system there. I cannot give my son a bath in our water because atrazine and other chemicals, other pre-emergents like that, at a quarter of the legal dosage that the EPA regulates, will change the sex of amphibians and allow male frogs to start laying eggs. So if you're putting a development like this that is going to be putting chemicals on their lawns at the headwater of Beaver Creek, those chemicals are going to travel through all of these ponds, and all of the amphibians and all of the well systems are going to have these chemicals and potentially start to be unpotable because of that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else on, I think I saw one more hand over on this side.
Hi, everybody. My name is Wilma Winter. It's 6 at Winter, just like Wilma, W-I-L-M-A, Winter, like the season. I live at 6021 Parkway East. I have spent most of my 71 years of life at that address. So I have seen many, many changes come and go through the Parkway, Blue Mountain Parkway, as well as Parkway East. When I started grade school, Parkway East was still a dirt road. We walked to the top of Blue Mountain Parkway. That's where we got our school bus. So I've seen a lot of changes. I'm not saying go back to dirt roads. I'm not saying that at all. Okay, but I'm saying I have seen some changes come through our communities that are not very beneficial to the people who already live there. They are beneficial to the developers and the people who are selling the parcels of land. I appreciate that these people are certainly able to do what they want to with their property within the restrictions of the law. Okay, I also see very potential problems, traffic being a huge problem, water runoff and water in general being a huge problem. If the water is going to be polluted, which we have a well on our farm, it's still the same hand-dug well that was there when this farm was established back in the 1800s, okay? It makes the water so you can't utilize it. So what are you doing? You're bringing city water in. The other thing is, if these wells go dry, then again, you still have to bring water in. If the septic systems fail to function properly, and at some point they probably will, now you're going to contaminate the other people in the neighborhood, their wells. And so because we don't have access there for these people to hook up to sewer and to city water, it's creating a whole bunch of problems we don't need to create. I'm very firmly in the belief it should stay A1, agriculture, residential, and let them build bigger lots. We're not saying don't build, because it's going to happen. It's eventually going to happen. But I don't think they can build 78 or 74 houses if it's zoned agriculture still. They're just not going to perk and probe all of them. So this for them is a really good way, and he's being a great lawyer by doing this for his client. But this is a real easy way for them to get their money and get out of Dodge. Okay? It's pretty much that simple. I knew Mr. Bonnets. I knew the gentleman that owned the property before him, Mr. Compton, who used to take me for rides on his horse as a little girl. So I've got a big history in this area. I understand it. The wildlife is rampant back there, so leave them have a place where they can be rampant. Okay? Because any day now, Parkway East, you're going to start seeing dead deer because the rut's about to come on. Okay? It's just make them be responsible about it. Remember, the people that are already living there also have rights and responsibilities for the properties they are on. And don't make us responsible for them hurrying a process along, putting in homes that are not adequately cared for as far as sewer and water, and then it's our problem. You have issues like the Mountain View Acres, where the runoff is horrendous. Okay? So that's all. Just keep in mind that it's for the betterment of our whole community, our whole township, that we have voted you guys into office, ladies also, I mean that as a general term, and that it's not just for the benefit of one person or one family or one beneficiary. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Beck, you make a second comment as long as it's not repetitive of your original
It's not at all.
comment.
I just had two questions. If the traffic study that is part of the land development recommends improvements to Parkway East, does the developer pay for that, or does the township pay for that? 3 years from now, when PennDOT tells us we need a roundabout at the St. Thomas Church in 39 because of all the traffic, who pays for that? The township or the developer? He's gone.
That's
Just a
state
question.
road. You're talking about a state road where the roundabout went in.
Yeah, but at the end of Parkway East where the church is, now we have all this traffic that's coming from this new development. And 3 years from now, we have nothing but traffic jams, crashes, and PennDOT recommends a roundabout. Who pays for that 3 years from now? Thank you.
Thank you. Please raise your hands again if you're looking to comment. Yes, sir.
My name is Bob Thomas, 6600 Parkway East in the township. My topics tonight are relative to the proposed rezoning, specific things. And number one, the impact of smaller lot sizes on the long-term effectiveness of on-site utilities is one of my concerns. I've asked township staff when the last time was you've been presented with a residential subdivision with total on-site utilities. Does anyone recall? I was told never. I know the answer isn't never, but I don't think it's in this century. So I think we're in a land development process that is not your normal process. There's no public utilities here. So I think caution is the word of the day as far as I'm concerned. Now, the proposed rezoning, and I'm not an engineer, I'm just working with what was made publicly available, reduces the minimum lot size from roughly 65,000 square feet, an acre and a half, to 43,000 square feet, about an acre. That's a 33% reduction in the lot size for a development that has on-site utilities, okay? There has been no scientific or environmental engineering data provided. I understand they don't have to at this point, but I think this is an issue of trying to get the genie back in the bottle. Once you approve the lower lot sizes, I think we're stuck with it. There's been no data that I've seen that says smaller lots are better for on-site utilities. Intuition is bigger lots are better for on-site utilities. So I've not seen anything that justifies shrinking the lot size down to an acre. All right? What happens, and the township dealt with this many years ago, decades ago, you know, high density on-site utilities leads to contaminated wells. That's where I don't want to see us going. Our neighbors in West Hanover have dealt with this recently. They have had two neighborhoods, Holiday Park and Houcks Manor, where the township had to run public sewer because DEP forced them to do it because of contaminated wells and malfunctioning sewer systems. Both of those developments, one's 1.5 miles from this, one is exactly 1 mile from this, on the exact same geological terrain, okay? So contamination has been happening. It's not in our township, but for the sake of an arbitrary line that says there's a boundary between West Hanover and Lower Paxton, it's in the same geographic area. This issue has happened. And West Hanover has spent millions of dollars to deal with it because they were forced to. That's where I don't want to see us end up. My second concern is the stormwater runoff. It's been mentioned, there's they call it some refer to it as a 100-year floodplain. In the National Flood Insurance Program, it's referred to as a Zone A. That is the highest risk of flood rating in the National Flood Insurance Program. Front Street in Harrisburg City is Zone A. We have Zone A cutting completely across the bottom section of this property from east to west, okay? That should tell you, that at least tells me, there is currently a ton of runoff focusing on this property, okay? I was surprised to see that we had a Zone A at the foot of the mountain. But we have it, it's there. So there's already a lot of runoff coming in. So this proposed rezoning, again, as I'm understanding it, and we've talked about the number of units under the yield plan and all that. My own assessment is from about the road there in the middle, the wavy S in the middle there, they're taking the mountain out of play. Under the yield plan, from that road south, their yield plan had 45 lots. Under their proposed rezoning plan, where the mountain stays mountain, now we have 63 lots. So they have, in fact, increased the density, and it only makes sense. You shrunk the lot size requirement, they're going to put more lots in there. So there are more lots on their plan. Whether it plays out with perks and probes, I don't know. But conceptually, they've increased the density from that S going south by 40%. Well, by definition, that's got to be a 40% increase in the lot surface area, impermeable surface area. You've added 40% more lots. So we're making property, we're adding more impermeable area, driveways, the house, the footprint of the house, sidewalks. We're adding that in an area that's got a Zone A flood risk. Again, it seems like the step in the wrong direction. So, and I know it would happen later in land development. I am really curious to see how they're going to out-engineer Mother Nature, because Mother Nature has already dictated that this property is a high runoff property. So I'm curious to see how they're going to achieve this reduction in runoff that was supposed to happen. So those are my comments. I'm obviously not in favor of approving it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I believe I saw a hand behind Mr. Thomas. I'm sorry, the podium was blocking. Yeah. No.
William Miller, 4311 Crestview. I don't live out that way. I have friends out that way. You know, my past life, the biologist, the young lady here, that's what I did I taught for almost 40 years, about every science there was. I help people in this township with their wells and other things. People know that I do that. I won't help anybody, though, that doesn't get their water assayed. There's coliform bacteria everywhere. We've just about polluted every well we have. There's not a home I go in that doesn't have a UV light. The bacteria, they're harmful for kids. They don't have their immune systems fully yet to an age of 1 to 2 years. Immunosuppressed people, as we get older, we're all going to have that problem too. And with not just the pre-emergence, but with the insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, everybody wants their tree sprayed. Everybody, and you can smell it, everybody wants their yard treated. And it's all going to roll downhill. And again, it's established that this is a big wetland. It flows. And this stuff will simply accumulate. I mean, if they were 10-acre parcels, a lot less. I think there's another way to do this, and everyone's correct. It's going to happen no matter what. But I don't think the footprint is going to be anywhere near the size it is right now. And there's a lot of people with a lot of money, and they'll pay for a nice big parcel. It could probably be the most exclusive place around here to live. But the way it's going right now, I just don't think the pollution aspect is a tough one for me. And I've been out there, and I've seen, I was out there with all that water on the road. I know the township put a bundle of money in that, and I believe they actually did it a second time, if memory serves me correct. And again, it's just going to get worse. The impervious surface is true. Even stone's impervious surface. So where's all this going to go? Right now, there's an absorptive surface there, which I didn't know it was a Zone A, but it's really not that absorptive. So I think this is going to take a big, hard look to try to, if they want to try to get this off the ground. But I think the water is the most valuable resource that's out there. And I can't see it doing anything but getting worse with any kind of development there at this juncture. But the water quality is of paramount importance to me, and I just wanted to, tie all that together at the end here. It would be a critical thought in my mind that we would damage something like that. And then who's going to pay for it? Like I say, who pays for all that? Who brings in the infrastructure? Who fixes all this later? Oh, we have a problem. This is terrible. But, what? We're going to get a grant or, this is a great township. They try to fix everything, but this would be a big fix. It really would be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. In the back.
Hi, my name's Carol. I'm a resident in the township. I don't live in that area. I'm a township resident, though. And I've come here before and spoke about these zoning issues. It just seems to me that every time a developer comes in here and wants to change the zoning to jam more housing in, we seem to be wanting to accommodate them. So I did a little research on the township, and it's like, we are the most populated municipality in this county and the 17th most populated municipality in the Commonwealth. You could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that is what my research showed me. So then I called the school district to say, well, how is our school district? And I'm happy to hear that there's some representatives from the district tonight, because they weren't exactly cooperative when I mean, they weren't uncooperative. Oh, well, go to the webpage of enrollment. Okay, we did that together. And there were like 2 spreadsheets there. I worked with spreadsheets my entire life. And the 23-24 spreadsheet was not set up the same as this year's spreadsheet. So I was left with 2 different numbers, but it appeared that from last year to this year, we have had an increase of over 1,500 students. If I'm, maybe a district employee can correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you could say I'm wrong if I'm wrong.
We're at about 12,800. You know, and it also depends when we do students. We have students at placement facilities.
Right, it has all the, right, but there's still students in our district, correct? Well, it doesn't matter where they are.
Can we, just have to ask you guys and the temporary
Yes,
chair, if we
please.
can,
To the
A,
podium.
can't have these, and then B, if we can try to stick to the
Okay, I'm talking about
media. I know,
our
we're growing.
township.
I understand.
Is that okay?
I understand, but we're getting a little deep on a side issue, and I just want to respect the people here and keep it on the issue at hand. I'm asking.
Thank you. Yeah. Yep. He can make public comment later if he
Okay, sure.
decides to.
Sure, okay. All right, so then last month, I was at a rain barrel meeting here, and DEP was telling us, you know, there was a grant, and us residents were asking to be good stewards of the stormwater and to, you know, set up our rain barrels, and I got one, and to make rain gardens and all these different things that we can do to mitigate stormwater runoff. And yet again, though, we're in here talking about making more dense building, you know, houses more densely built, then more spread out. And it's like you're asking our residents to do that, which is great. I mean, I participated. I got a rain barrel. I'm going to hook it up, you know, whatever. And I live in a rather more densely populated portion of the township. But I don't understand why every time there's some green area available that we would want to keep putting in more, not less, housing. Like, why can't we just keep the green parts green? I understand people can sell their farm, but why do we have to change the zoning? Like, I already had to fight to have the zoning not changed where I live in the specific area. And I won't say anything else. You know, I'll just come to another meeting and address the other things. But I did just want to say, when they talked about having to put sewer projects in, you know, because people have wells out there, then, you know, would that be the next contract Dolly gets? Because you're talking, you know, I'm listening to all these, I watch these things on YouTube. It's been nothing but a nightmare with these Dolly's contracts, and Mr. Gutschall said, well, it's good to know for the next contract. The next contract? They can't even meet the obligations of
And
current
if we could
contracts.
keep the comment to the
Okay, sorry.
current.
Sorry, done.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir, in the back.
Good evening. My name is Nathan Grimm. I live at 6903 Fox Hill. I would just like to suggest for the board that I think we're not framing this question properly. When we talk about rezoning, particularly for this plan, you know, part of the reason the zoning board recommended that we don't move forward with this plan was that they're for responsible development. I would suggest that this is not responsible development. This is development that is kind of straight out of 1965. On-site water, on-site sewer, no accommodations to deal with the increases in traffic. So really, from my point of view, the question at hand isn't, are we voting on a change to the zoning today, but are we instead voting on a future tax increase? Because as others have pointed out, you can be assured that at some point in time, you will have to put in public water and public sewer. you will at some point in time have to address the roads that are barely adequate for the traffic today. So I would just ask that you bear in mind whether or not you are for a future tax increase to accommodate the costs that are really being shifted from the developer onto the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Epstein, if you'd like.
Eric Epstein, 4100 Hillsdale Road, would like to make a couple of observations that impact the school district. So I don't know who thought we were getting off track with this school, but I think that's the most precious entity we have. And this will impact the school. I did know Mr. and Mrs. Bonnets. I went to school with Bobby and Leanne. I graduated with Bobby, so I was back on that property quite a bit, and it is a jewel. I think one thing that's missed is context here. Because I am on the school board and deal with real estate issues, I read the comprehensive plan for Dolphin, Middle Paxton, West Hanover, Lower Paxton, and Swadera. My question has always been, and I participate in the comp plan, why do we have them if we're not going to follow them? And you know, one of the things the comp plan does is identify a direction we're going. If you look at the West Hanover comprehensive plan, Piketown and Route 39 are designated as high density. So you're going to have the traffic. I mean, that's a reality. And the other issue is manifestly unfair not to know who the developer is. I mean, what is this, Cloak and Dagger? I mean, this seems like something out of a really bad spy movie. Absolutely, you should know who the developer is. Let me catch my breath. So, to the woman who talked about enrollment, I'll give you my number. We're probably at about 12,800. We are at the breaking point for a number of schools. We just built Central Dolphin, even though it's 20 years, and that's likely to have an expansion. We just built West Hanover, and that's almost at capacity. So people are coming to the area. And when you, and Supervisor Lindsay and Supervisor Thompson and Mr. Gutschall, Manager Gutschall, wanted to give you your title. You know, we had spoken about when we do real estate, please think about the impact for the school district. And so as a former manager of the bus drivers, you're going to be adding a couple routes. And if you're adding routes in areas that are prone to flood, that's a challenge. In addition to that, you're adding routes in places that are poorly lit, and our challenge was during daylight savings. These are real. I mean, so when we're transporting children, and we get it right most of the time, it's an additional burden. I also would point out that, and you probably already know it, we are the 8th largest school district. And we have a student-teacher ratio right now that is manageable. So when you continue to add development, and I get it, you continue to increase the student-teacher ratio, which reminds me of the old Chinese proverb, no snowflake in an avalanche ever feels responsible. There's a lot of snowflakes out there. So, you know, I'd like to be able to commit to our taxpayers that we maintain the quality of education that we have. I think that's one of the reasons that people live here and move here. So I'm speaking not in favor of against, but getting back to the point that I've tried to raise. Every time we do a development, it has an impact. And if you look around, what makes Central Dauphin so unusual is that we are not only one of the largest school districts in population, 12,800, we are also one of the largest school districts in terms of transportation. We cover 2.3 million miles a year. It's a lot. So again, I don't think this puts us over the top. A consideration, I hadn't intended to speak tonight, but it was hard for me not to. And I'll stay after somebody if needs information on the enrollment.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other public comment? Does the board have any other comments at this time? Does the township engineer have any comments? And does the Yes, ma'am. Sure, could you please go to the podium and state your name?
I live in Lower Paxton. Wanda Beck. Wanda Beck, B-E-C-K, 6230 Parkway East. So my question is, why are the minutes from the 2 previous meetings not available to you previous to this meeting? Because
I'm
that
sorry, is
seems-
this related to the,
to this meeting, so it's not public comment, it's a question.
You mean the planning commission minutes that I mentioned earlier?
Yeah, why aren't they available
Yeah.
to you? Because hundreds of us, 2 different meetings, lots and lots of comments.
We have staff that do the minutes for all of the meetings, and so they're trying to complete their work during the day, and so they do the minutes as they have time to do them. So they're usually running about 2 months behind.
Then this meeting may have been delayed, so you had time to digest those minutes and know more about what we're discussing, even in addition to what we've said tonight.
I
Thank you.
personally watched YouTube, so from the planning commission, so I got to see what was discussed.
Did everyone get a chance to know what we talked about in the 2 previous meetings? It would have been good,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
A lot of information came up.
I think I got enough information. I think I know what the issues are, and I feel well informed.
I feel neglected because we came out and brought up a lot of good information for 2 different meetings, but it wasn't available to you. So it's like what we all said didn't matter. So I'm not comfortable with that.
Well, we
ma'am, do
had-
you have any comments about this zoning amendment as of now that you'd like to
I
make?
feel that maybe you as a group missed out on some good information that is relevant to this zoning decision. So that, I can't ask this question anywhere else.
It's a
Why-
fair question, I think.
Why didn't you have the information available to you? You're gonna make a choice.
It's a fair question.
We did have a lot of a lot of very good information here this evening.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did it
yes.
this-
The PowerPoint was excellent, and everybody that was here gave us the information. I feel that we need to make the decision tonight.
I wish you had had all the information. That's my only regret.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Thank you. Unless there are any other points to be made, which I see none at this time, I will,
Does the attorney get to?
my apologies. Yes, sir.
This is Justin Kuhn from Integrated Consulting. He's the civil engineer on the project. He would like to make a few comments, basically to answer some of the questions and points that were made. But I have to say, I used the word counterintuitive before about the application itself, but it is a bit of a conundrum. I mean, we have.
Can you go closer to the mic? 'Cause
Sorry.
you could-
I mean, people are concerned about development on the mountainside. People are concerned about stormwater. People are concerned about flora and fauna. They acknowledge that the property is able to be developed. I mean, the zoning that is in place now permits that. If anything, and I know this is not meant as an insult to the people in this room, but I would think that what we're proposing, which is permitted under the ordinance as the overlay district, subject to your approval, would actually be welcomed by the area residents. There's fewer homes, there's less impervious coverage, there's preservation of flora and fauna and the hillside, preservation of steep slopes. As far as stormwater is concerned, it sounds like there are existing conditions. There are laws, federal and state laws regarding the stormwater discharge from a property during and post-development. We have to develop the property in a way that reduces the current flow. We cannot increase the rate or the volume. As far as there being a shadow developer, this is it. This is us. I represent the estate that owns this property. Hugh Simpson is a spokesperson for the estate. Justin is hired by the estate. This is us. But what I said in the beginning, I'll let Justin say what he wants to say because he's the technical guy. What we are proposing has a far lesser impact than what is permitted by right under that plan. And if I were a resident in the area, I would prefer the cluster development to the by right development that goes up the mountain.
Please, let's give them time to speak. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, I just want to, there was a lot of confusion at the Planning Commission meeting. You know, I didn't say anything when people were
Please
talking
keep your
tonight.
comments and let the person at the podium speak. Thank you.
We presented plans to the township that were required by ordinance for this application. This was not a set of smoke and mirror plans. We've met with staff multiple times on this. We created a yield plan. What could you do under current zoning? It doesn't mean that you could build 78 lots. You have to go perk and probe. The land will yield what the land yields. We've met with the township SEO. She understood that. She agreed, hey, it's a yield plan. Probably not going to get all of those, but we had to present something. Ordinance requirement requires a yield plan. This is technically in a perfect world what you could do. Do we think you could get 78? Probably not. Counter to that, we provided a plan. If you rezoned and allowed the overlay, what could we do? Well, in a perfect world, again, you could do about 63 lots. Do we think perks and probes are going to yield 63? No, just like we don't think they're going to yield 78. But we had to show what you could do under current zoning, because that's where we're at today. We're not at perks and probes and well testing and all those things that we would be required to do. So the plans are not meant to, like you said, it's no shadow developments, no. This is the first I've actually heard this much pushback on what an open space development. This thing would preserve that whole mountainside at 61 acres, plus the corridor of the streams and wetlands. That's a huge benefit. That yield plan, you could take the whole mountainside out today. We don't think that's responsible development. We think an open space development is much more responsible. That's really why we came up with what we did. It's nothing more than that. There's less roads, there's less sidewalk, there would be less impervious, and there's going to be less homes. And there's a lot of things presented that were presented in the light that they wanted to be presented. But the one thing we haven't talked about is Dauphin County Planning Commission's letter, which also references the Tri-County information. Dauphin County Planning Commission has recommended approval of this. They support this. So we talk about Dauphin County Planning Commission documents and Tri-County documents. They all actually support this. There was some cherry-picked information that we saw, but Dauphin County goes as far as to say, the land use plan of Lower Paxton Township's comp plan, yes, identifies this as AR, along with the designation of open space development encouraged. The parcel is also including in the plan's developable lands designation. It's exactly what we're doing. The comp plan encourages open space development. They also went on to say that the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission's Regional Growth Plan encourages the use of cluster developments zoning within recommendations of the implementation chapter. So the cluster space, as they noted, would promote the creation of livable, sustainable communities where you're protecting natural features, we're protecting open space, we're dedicating open space. So I just wanted to make that clear because we hadn't really heard that. And also a little bit on the perk and probe. There's tons of houses in every township on lot septic. They weren't all built in the 60s and 70s. Some are being built today. I have a brand new house. I'm on a well and septic. It's not unusual. DEP regulates this. 1 acre is the minimum. You have to have a primary and a backup system. So it's not as if you go in here willy-nilly and just place lots. The township SEO has to do the testing under DEP's guidelines, and the number of lots we get, we'll get, and they'll dictate the lot size and where the lots can be, and we would have to conform to that. I just wanted to address that as well. I also think one thing that wasn't discussed, we have that flooding on Compton. We've seen the pictures. So a lot of maps show Compton Road coming through this site, but it's not public. It's really a private driveway. That connection to Compton and Fox Hill and over to Parkway would also provide another avenue that actual connection would be public, and there could be cross use of that during those type of events to get down to Lingelstown Road. That's just a couple items I wanted to address. I can answer any questions.
So I'm going to ask it one more time. You're the engineer. You guys are representing the Bonnets. I'm going to ask one more time. Who was the developer?
My contract is with the Bonnets family. Well, you can say what you want. That's who my contract.
I just ask.
No, but everybody laughs when I say that. I've not talked to any developers. I've only talked to you, who is the spokesperson for the Bonnets Trust. That's it.
I have a question. The concern was brought up at the lack of usable land. What was your response to that? Was the original PowerPoint that there's a requirement not just for open space, but usable open space. I'm sorry, open space.
Sure, passive and active.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, that is a hillside. There are parts of it that are steep. There are definitely parts that are also usable as well. It's not a straight cliff the whole way down. As shown in that plan, we've looked at it. You could actually get roads and houses on it that would meet township requirements. So do I think you can get active and passive rec land on that? Absolutely.
How about no central green area? That it's trying to encourage centralized open space.
Obviously, we would be open to whatever working with the township during land development, and maybe we could develop something like that.
And you had said about Fox Hill and there at Compton.
Yeah.
So that goes into West Hanover Township. So West Hanover Township would have to approve that there would be an entrance coming out there.
That's correct.
Okay. So we don't know that for sure because you really haven't talked to them.
Well, right now
they haven't had it beside. They
right,
haven't had it in front of
we're
them.
not proposing any rezoning in West Hanover. So of course we haven't appeared in front of them. Roads are always a permitted use in a zoning district. We would be proposing one lot over there in West Hanover Township. We would file a subdivision plan with a road connection, and we would have to work through whatever comments they provided.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Ma'am, I'll allow you a second comment as long as it's not repetitive of your first comment. Please, yep.
It's Linda Lucas, 6707 Parkway East. I did want to respond because I did attend the other two meetings and was part of those meetings. I guess my first question in response is, if you can do all the things that you want to do with it zoned agricultural, and you're making it, you're saying that it's better for us to do it, to change the zoning, I think we just keep the zoning as it is, and let them go and get approved for what they can get approved for. I believe that we haven't. I think the 1.5 acre minimum lots for septic and sewage is better. And I believe that they really have not presented a good argument as to why we need to change the zoning, because they're saying they can do all the things they want to do without changing the zoning. There's no reason to change the zoning. We're opening up a can of worms, because once you've changed the zoning, you lose a portion of the control, and now you're under a different set of rules. And that's really all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I see a hand in the back, sir, Mr. Staltzer. Same thing I said earlier about the repetitiveness of your comment.
No, nothing repetitive. I wanted to address some things that I think were pointed at me. Cherry picking of information. My PowerPoint has the source in it. You guys are welcome to click on it. It's a map. How did I cherry pick a map? It's rural reserve. The letter that the gentleman referenced, we don't get to see that letter. We don't get to be part of those conversations. The Dauphin County engineer, he sat there, heard him say, well, yeah, this 63 is less than 78. And then your planning commission proceeded to ask questions and reveal how this really isn't 63 versus 78. And how at the end of the day, the reality of the perk and probe under the current zoning is going to lead to bigger lots and less houses, which we know, we believe, right? We pulled money. We've spoken with land use people. We've spoken with land use attorneys. I don't have the money to pay them to be here to speak. They laugh at that type of stuff when we present it to them. So I go home and I go, who do I believe? Do I believe the people who are spending a bunch of money will make a bunch of money off of this? Or do I believe the independent person that just went out and paid? I'm sorry that they feel that I'm checker picking. That's unbelievable. That is just unbelievable. And never mind. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, unless there are any other points to be made, I will close the hearing and return this matter to the chair. Madam Chair, this is now the time for the board to adopt, if it so decides, Ordinance 2024-06.
Do I have a motion to adopt Ordinance 2024-06, amending the township zoning map to accept the rezoning of land along Parkway East from agricultural residential to open space development overlay?
Can we comment before the motion, or you motion first?
Excuse me.
You
The
motion, then you vote.
Yeah. Motion first, second, and then the comment.
Right.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Well, so moved.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Okay, motion is denied. Alrighty, motion's denied. Next on the agenda, we have improvement guarantees. There are, if I could just ask, if you are leaving, if you could quietly leave, we still have to finish our business meeting. And thank you all for coming and participating.
Thank you.
Okay. Unfortunately, we have 3 improvement guarantees. And unfortunately, they're not going to let me see them because it says we're sorry. So can somebody tell me what the... Oh, okay. We have the 3 improvement guarantees. Do I have a motion to approve the improvement guarantees?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Payment of bills. Mr. Miller will be explaining something on the payment of the bills before we make the motion.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, there is one bill that we are pulling from tonight's list for approval. It is check number 123496 in the amount of $986,907.06, payable to New Enterprise Stone and Lime Company. Just want to clarify, this is being pulled and it will become before the board at a later date, most likely our next October business meeting. There's some complexity to the actual bill because it involves the Township Authority, and Susquehanna Township for our 2024 paving project. So it just needs further analysis before we can send it forward for final payment.
Okay. So do I have a motion to pay the bills of Lower Paxton Township Authority?
So moved, minus that bill.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Does the board have any announcements? Just a reminder, our Oktoberfest, Fall Fest, excuse me, on Saturday from 12 to 4 at George Park. Board members, any more announcements? Oktoberfest would be more fun. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Meeting adjourned.